Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Spicy Dice Boys. This is Zach, and I'll be your host again for another battle report from Brawler Bash 2024. This is round 4 we're looking at. We are currently in second place, playing first place. We have drawn Luna Valentine and her Bretonians. The mission in this round is basically killing your opponent's wizard for some extra bonus points at the end of the game. Now, Luna is a regular on the Mid-Atlantic circuit on the East Coast. We do see each other pretty regularly and play each other, honestly, pretty regularly at the events. This battle report was the first time we ever played. And then I think, did I put the picture in here? I did. This actually from Nova Open. We played again there. I think that was like the third round. Good times there as well. But yeah, Luna's a staple. So if you come around to some of the events on the East Coast, you'll run into us. The format for this event is, again, 2,000 points with only kill points mattering for placing. You can lose all 5 games. As long as you slaughter tons of stuff, you're good to go. My list remains unchanged again. It's a dragon without a ward save, but I have a monster slaying sword. A lot of shooting, a lot of wild riders, and an eagle. And a level 4, which I have to roll up my spells. But pretty okay, pretty tame Wood Elf list, I guess by today's standard. Moving on to Luna's list. Luna did bring a Duke with the Virtue of Heroism and a healing potion. That I don't know if that came up in our game. I can't remember when they used the healing potion, but I'm sure it was used. There was a Paladin BSB with the Falcon Horn and the Virtue of Confidence. And that Virtue of Confidence means that I believe they always have to accept or declare a challenge if they're able to. And a Grommel Great Helm for rerolling smarter saves. Got a level 4 battle, picking their spells, some Knights Errant, some Mounted Knights, 2 units of Peasant Bowmen, and 3 units of Pegs, 11 Pegs total. This was kind of the first viewing ahead of the strength of Bretonnia and their flying Peg circus there. All right, so going on into deployment. I am pretty sure that Bretonnia does pray at the beginning of the game to get the extra ward save, but I actually was next to Luna for one of their games early on where they didn't, and she just went ahead and sent the army right at her opponent, and it worked out. So sometimes you just gotta be careful. You're not always sure if the Bretonians are gonna pray. But yeah, so as far as the Wood Elves deployment, Wood Elf scouts on the far left, lots of archers on the left flank as well. Main bulk of the Wood Elf force is in the Wild Riders and the Dragon on the right hand side. I saw that Luna was placing her pegs, kind of behind cover, behind rocks, so I tried to kind of match up what I could. The Bretonians, like I said, deployed the pegs behind the rocks. Archers were screening off those knights, and the characters were actually solo. They weren't in units in this game. Which I thought was kind of interesting. And the big block of knights on the left is your Knights of the Realm. So moving into... Oh, for spells, Wood Elves definitely had Plague of Rust and Pillar of Fire. And Growing some Woods. Those came up. So Luna chooses to pray, and the Wood Elves grab the first turn. So with no Falcon Horn, I'm actually able to fly with my movement to Eagle. Went ahead and took advantage of that, flew up as far as I could. Dragon and some Wild Riders took care of the right flank. And I kept some Wild Riders back in reserve a little bit, just didn't want to gum it up too much, just in case some of the pegs were trying to fly up behind me. I wanted to have some Wild Riders able to contest a little bit. I grew some woods and grew a Pillar of Fire in the middle. Moving on to the Bretonnia Turn 1. There's a big unit of pegs on the right. I'm going to call them the dark colored pegs. They fly up behind. There's building terrain there, so they kind of shield themselves and give them some good rear and flank charges. The light colored pegs, they kind of lined up just out of line of sight, or just out of range of my Wild Riders, so that I couldn't actually make the charge versus them. I had to declare on that first unit of pegs. It was going to be a long charge. It was going to be tough. But it was really good use of those pegs to try to, bait my frenzy charges into places I didn't want to be. The group of pegs on the left-hand side, they went ahead and marched up out of line of sight of my Wild Riders, just basically threatening all my center. Knights of the Realm moved up a little bit, and the archers marched up and made me frenzy charge them, because all these Wild Riders are frenzied in the center. Oh, my apologies. I just realized that I missed the Wood Elf turn. The only thing that happened was some shooting on the Knights of the Realm that were off on the side. They actually failed a panic test and fell back off the board. So a huge start for the Wood Elves there. Big gain there, having those Knights run off the board there, kind of opened up this flank. I was feeling pretty good, actually, after that. Okay, the Wood Elf turn 2. So on the right side, the Wild Riders do charge the unit of Dark Pegasus. They actually countercharge. They fail their countercharge. Like, they don't get enough to really get going and get their furious charge. But luckily, my Wild Riders do fail their charge. Pegs didn't come far enough up, so we ended up getting just up in there. The dragon, I believe, charged the Knights of the Realm in the bottom center. Both my Wild Riders in the center also had to charge the archer unit, which had to be done. For combat, obviously the Wild Riders blow up the archer unit. The center unit actually overruns, and we were trying to figure out how exactly blunting the lance works. Neither of us were really too familiar on how it was going to work. The way we did it probably wasn't the right way, but you never know. We were definitely still learning. In fact, I was messaging Luna when I was putting together this battle report. We were trying to figure out exactly kind of what happened when we were looking back at this. But no, this is just one of the first interactions with trying to blunt a lance with, some overrunning and touching the side of a unit. We thought at the time this was probably the best way to do it, but again, still learning. And in that combat, the dragon whiffs everything. So kind of a beefed up turn for the Wood Elves. There's a falcon horn that's going, so the eagle on the left hand side is only moving 2 inches at a time. Really not too much is going on. Plague of Rust some Pegasus on the left and throw some shots at it. The Pillar of Fire's there too, just trying to make life a little difficult for him. But yeah, that's about Wood Elf 2. Moving on to the Bret turn 2. This is where things do start to get spicy. The Pegasus at the top center here, the lone peg, tries to charge the archers with Plague of Rust on to stand and shoot, and the Dangerous Terrain for the Pillar does finish off that Pegasus Knight, so that is good for the Wood Elves. That's good. The Lord does charge the Wild Riders in the rear. Not a good start. And all of these Pegasus here on the right, the dark ones and the BSB, end up charging the rear of the dragon and the Wild Riders. Not feeling the best about that combat. The light pegs on the right-hand side, they do charge the Wild Riders. And they're inside their distance, so the Wild Riders do not get a counter charge. So that's not going to go well. When you actually get into the combat of things, the Lord does beat the Wild Riders in combat, but they do hold. The BSB does not take any wounds for the dragon, or minimal wounds from the dragon with his Gromrel Greathelm. The Wild Riders do damage back at the pegs because they did pursue, so we had them use their spears and their initiative bonus, so they actually were able to do some good damage to the Pegasus in the rear. The Knights these are actually Knights Errant, I'm sorry. These Knights Errant, they do pretty much nothing, and the Peg Knights are doing not too much damage forward either. So when everything kind of shakes out, the Wood Elves actually lose combat because of the rear charges and the banners and the musician. The Wood Elves end up giving ground, but when there's really nowhere to go, they end up just kind of sticking right there, and the Brets stay stuck in. And that is why we actually did not take another picture, because it was so crazy. We actually just kept going. So we're going to use this picture again for the Wood Elf turn 3. There was basically minimal shooting. Not too much happened. We basically went right back into the combat again. On this combat, the Lord finishes off the Wild Riders and restrains. The Dragon and the Wild Riders do beat the Pegasus unit and the Knights and the BSB, but mainly kill the Pegasus. The Knights of the Realm do fall back in good order. The BSB gives ground, while the Pegasus flee to the north. And the Wild Riders and Dragon go ahead and pursue on those Pegasus. And after they catch, they reform, which takes us into this picture. Not the best place for this Dragon and Wild Riders to be, I will say. There's definitely been better spots for them. I'll start off with saying the pegs on the right-hand side, the light ones, they do charge a unit of archers. They stand and shoot, do the best they can, but they're not going to be long for the world there. The Lord charges the Wizards unit with the Glade Riders. I chose to flee here, which I always second-guess that decision, obviously with what happened, but I figured they were going to die if that Lord touches them. But I chose to flee. The Lord actually redirects into the Dragon, which I was okay with. It was a little scary because this Lord does have the Virtue of Heroism, which he can monster slay. The Knights of the Realm and the BSB do charge the Wild Rider block. Both those combined do kill the Wild Riders, and the BSB actually overruns into the Dragon, which Luna definitely told me later was probably a mistake, because with that Virtue of Confidence on the BSB, they have to declare the challenge versus the Dragon, which I'll gladly accept to kind of hide myself from the Virtue of Heroism Lord. The Dragon does eat that BSB up, and the Lord just gives ground off. Oh, and the Wizard is actually in this unit of archers over here. Really didn't do too much this game, except for right now when they threw a giant fireball at the Sisters of the Thorn and killed the whole unit with one fireball. But outside of that, there really wasn't too much going on with that Wizard. So now that it is the Wood Elf turn, the Dragon go ahead and charges the Knights Errant. Went straight ahead right into them. All the shooting I can goes at that Lord. And that's basically a nice, quick, and easy Wood Elf turn. The Dragon does eat those Knights up and just tries to prepare for the oncoming fight that's going to happen with this Lord. So, bottom of Bretonnia turn here. This is the last turn of the game. We are bumping up against time, and we basically have one combat to resolve. The Bretonnian Lord does one hit, and with that one hit, rolls a 6 with that one hit to wound. So that's 6. I don't have a ward on this Dragon. I learned my lesson nice and early in the game that you need to take some kind of ward to protect from Monster Slayer. This basically slays my monster, clearly. And that's the game. Let's see here. The total score, Wood Elves had 1432. The Bretonnians had 2281. The Dragon at the very end was worth about 517 points for the Monster Slayer. 370 points for my Wizard actually running off the table with that failed rally there. So with those two things, it's a super close game, but clearly they happened. So Wood Elves got smacked there. Lots of learning, lots of interesting combats and interactions happening. I remember we were in the rulebook a whole lot during this game. Even after the fact, we're trying to piece it together. Like was that right? Well, but no, with that loss, we dropped down to third place, which isn't bad. Not at all. And actually, when I look at my notes, I didn't record Game 5. But a quick synopsis was that I got blasted off the table with 4 cannons and a steam tank, which overall dropped me down to 5th place after going 3-2. And first place at the event went to Luna. Second place went to Todd. Those were my round 3 and 4 opponents. Definitely had a great time at the event. A lot of cool people out there, a lot of cool armies. I recommend folks coming out to Brawler Bash. It's going to be happening again March of 2025, I think March 8th. So if you're around in the area of North Carolina, anywhere around there, come on out to Brawler Bash. It's a great time. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, everybody.